It always begins with a choice, small, seemingly insignificant, but irreversible once made. For Nathan and his friends, that choice came on a damp autumn night when they ignored the warning signs nailed into the crooked wooden posts along Harlow Road. Both the boards were cracked, their paint weathered and flaking, but the words remained sharp enough to give pause. The group of four, Nathan, his younger sister Emily, their friend Marcus, and the ever-curious Hannah, stood before the road's entrance. A broken chain sagged between two leaning posts, rattling faintly in the wind. "This is it," Marcus whispered, pulling the hood of his jacket tighter against the drizzle. "The old maps show it used to lead to a village that doesn't exist anymore." Emily shivered. "Doesn't exist anymore. What does that even mean?" Hannah smiled faintly, though her eyes betrayed nervousness. "They say Harlow Road was closed off in the late 70s. Whole town abandoned overnight. Some say disease, others say something worse." The words lingered, heavy with suggestion. The rain ticked against the leaves above, dripping steadily, like a clock counting down. Nathan glanced at his sister. She looked uneasy, but he could see the same flicker of curiosity he felt. The road ahead stretched into darkness. Overgrown trees leaned across it like conspirators, their branches meshing together, swallowing the last pale threads of daylight. "Come on," Nathan muttered. "We'll just check it out. No one will even know we were here." They stepped over the sagging chain. The air seemed to shift as soon as they crossed. The sound of the wind dulled, muffled, like they'd walked into a tunnel. The usual smells of wet earth and rain carried something sour beneath them, faint but unmistakable, a stench that reminded Nathan of old meat left too long in the sun. The group walked in silence for the first mile, the crunch of their shoes the only sound on the cracked, moss-slick pavement. Trees thickened on either side, looming like spectators at some grim parade. Emily broke the silence. "Why would anyone just leave a whole town behind?" Marcus shrugged. "My dad told me a story once. He said there was an outbreak, some kind of fever. People started acting strange before they died. Violent, neighbors turning on neighbors. Then one night, they all disappeared. The state sealed the road, said it was condemned land. That's just urban legend." Hannah scoffed, though her voice was softer now. "Every town has one." But Nathan noticed she didn't walk as confidently as before. The road bent sharply after another half hour, and there it was, the village, or what was left of it. Shadows swallowed most of the view, but in the gaps where moonlight broke through, the outlines of collapsed rooftops and sagging walls became visible. A sign lay crooked in the grass, half rotted but still legible. "Welcome Marodazini." Emily whispered the words, her voice trembling. Marozenda. The name itself felt wrong. Houses lined the road ahead, their windows black and hollow. Some had doors ajar, others were caved in, as if gnawed away by time itself. The silence was unbearable, thick, pressing, as though the entire forest were holding its breath. Marcus raised his phone, the faint glow of its flashlight slicing through the dark. "We should look around. Just a quick walk through, then we head back." Nathan nodded, though unease clawed at his stomach. He couldn't shake the feeling that stepping into this place was more than trespassing. It was intrusion. Violation. They moved deeper into the village. Rusted mailboxes leaned crookedly, some still bearing names long since forgotten. A swing set creaked faintly in the wind, though nothing moved it. Then Emily froze. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. The group stopped. The night was quiet until it wasn't. From somewhere beyond the houses came the faint scrape of metal against stone. Slow, deliberate. Nathan's throat tightened. Probably just an animal, but he didn't believe it. None of them did. The sound came again, closer this time. They turned as one, shining Marcus's weak beam across the village street. For a moment, nothing, just boarded windows and broken glass. Then, movement. A shadow slipped between two houses. Emily grabbed Nathan's arm. "Someone's here." The group stood frozen, the air pressing heavier with each second. The drizzle had stopped, but now the silence was unbearable. Nathan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. We should go back." Hannah stammered. Marcus swallowed hard but nodded. "Yeah, just retrace our steps." They turned back down the road. But as they reached the edge of the village, something stopped them cold. The chain they had stepped over earlier was gone. In its place was a wooden sign, freshly painted. The letters wet as though just written. UUCALD and BE hair. The four of them stared in horror. The road behind the sign stretched into the trees, but it no longer looked the same. The forest was darker, the path narrower, as though the land itself had shifted in their absence. And from behind them, down the village street, came that sound again. Scrape, pause, scrape, slow, steady, coming closer. Nathan whispered the only word that made sense in that moment. "Run." They sprinted down the road, the beam of Marcus's phone bouncing wildly in the dark. Branches slapped against their faces, the path narrowing as if trying to force them back. Behind them, the scraping grew louder, faster, gaining. Emily tripped, falling hard on her hands. Nathan hauled her up, adrenaline blinding him to the blood on her palms. Hannah's breath came ragged, her sobs mixing with gasps. The forest felt endless, wrong, as though no matter how far they ran, they weren't getting closer to escape. Then suddenly the scraping stopped. The silence that followed was worse. They slowed, chests heaving. ears straining in the dark. And then a whisper came low and wet, carried on the wind, though it sounded as if it were spoken directly beside them. "You shouldn't have come here." The forest swallowed the words. But Nathan knew with every trembling bone in his body, something was out there, and it wasn't going to let them leave. The road narrowed until it felt more like a deer path than pavement, twisting deeper into the trees. Nathan's legs burned, his breath searing in his chest, but the group didn't dare stop. Each time he slowed, the image of that freshly painted sign, Low School DNBAR, flashed in his mind, and his pace quickened again. Emily stumbled at his side, whispering through ragged breaths, "Well, we're not going the same way back. This doesn't feel right." And Nathan knew she was right. The path seemed unfamiliar now, though it should have led them back toward the chain and the highway. The forest pressed in too close, thicker and darker than before, as if they'd been swallowed by it. Marcus's flashlight flickered weakly. He shook it, muttering curses under his breath. Hannah was a few steps behind, her arms wrapped around herself, her eyes darting everywhere at once. "Keep moving," Nathan urged. "We just need to." He stopped dead in his tracks. Up ahead, through the trees, a shape loomed in the darkness. A house. It sat crookedly on its foundation, its silhouette jagged against the thin sliver of moonlight that pierced the canopy. The wood was blackened in patches, as though fire had licked at its walls but never consumed it. The windows gaped open, glassless, like staring sockets. Marcus blinked. "That wasn't here before. I swear it wasn't." Hannah's voice trembled. "No one said anything about a house on this road." The group stood frozen. Something about the place was wrong. Not just abandoned, but misplaced, as though it had been dropped here. Then, from within the house, a light flickered. Not electric, not steady, more like the glow of a candle swaying faintly behind one of the upstairs windows. Emily clutched Nathan's arm so tightly her nails dug into his skin. "Someone's inside. Or something." Marcus muttered, his voice breaking on the last word. They should have turned back, fled into the woods, chosen any direction but toward that house. And yet, as if pulled by some silent command, they found themselves stepping closer. The front door sagged crookedly on its hinges. It was carved with something, deep scratches gouged into the wood, not random but deliberate letters. Nathan leaned closer, the beam of Marcus's dying flashlight sweeping over the markings. Stay woe, the words had been carved so violently that splinters stuck out like teeth. A breath of cold air drifted from the open doorway, carrying that same sour stench Nathan had smelled earlier on the road. Old meat decay. "We can't go in there," Hannah hissed, her whole body trembling. But Marcus shook his head. "If someone really is here, maybe they can help. Maybe they know the way out." Nathan wanted to argue. He wanted to drag his sister away, back into the woods, even if it meant wandering blind. But then the candlelight flickered again, this time closer to the doorway, as though whoever held it was waiting. The floorboards groaned as they stepped inside. The air was colder here, damp, carrying the scent of mold and something fouler beneath it. The beam of the flashlight cut across the ruined interior. Peeling wallpaper, a collapsed staircase, furniture reduced to piles of splinters and rot. Yet on the floor near the center of the room lay something jarringly out of place. A small circle of salt. Unbroken, Nathan stopped, staring at it. "What the hell?" Emily whispered. "It's a ward. People use that to keep something out. Or in." The thought slithered into Nathan's mind uninvited. Suddenly, the floor above them creaked. Heavy, deliberate. The group froze, their breath shallow. Someone or something was moving upstairs. Marcus raised the flashlight toward the stairwell. The rotted steps curved upward into darkness. "Hello," he called, his voice shaking. No answer. Another creak. Closer now. Emily grabbed Nathan's sleeve, pulling him toward the door. "We need to go." Then the candlelight appeared again. At the top of the stairs, half shrouded in shadow, a figure stood. The flame lit only pieces of it. A hand curled around the candle holder, pale and thin, a chin too sharp, skin drawn tight over bone, eyes that reflected the light in a way that wasn't natural. They didn't glow like an animal's eyes. They shone wet and dark, as though filled with oil. The figure tilted its head slowly, unnervingly, and then it whispered, "You shouldn't be here." The same words as the sign, the same cadence as the voice in